Rent. Welcome to Give Me Rent. Today we're going to be talking about the man, the myth, the legend, the Batman. One of the, probably, if not the most famous comic book character of all time. This man has had an insane career in pop culture, movies, television, you name it.
Influence outside of the universe also has just been uncanny, influencing stories, how some characters
I
have,
think it's safe to say the big three of comics are Batman, Superman, and
Spider-Man. 100%. The first, superhero being Superman, Batman, who's debatably
You always
the
got to
best
give it to
friend.
Superman being the
And
first one.
You got to. I mean, just look at how many people he's inspired, though, across every single thing. You can see an Invincible, The Boys.
Exactly,
You could
yeah.
see an Image Comics.
Same with Batman, though. You
I mean,
got all your, interpretations.
yeah.
Literally, Marvel's people calling Moon Knight Marvel's Batman for a reason.
And there's a couple other characters
He's
they compare him
inspired
to.
so many comic book characters over the years.
100%, and give credit to the Spider-Man also. I mean, one of the best merchandise selling also. Look at that. I mean, look at his video games. Same thing with Batman. Two of the best
Well, I
video
will say,
games.
I to this day, I think my favorite video game of all time is still Batman Arkham City.
Mine's Arkham City or Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions.
Yeah,
Or
I will say GTA
Ultimate
5 is great as well.
Ultimate Alliance 2, I'm actually going to... I'm talking about just superhero. Other games I
Yeah,
can definitely throw in
yeah.
there, but just for that, I mean, Ultimate Alliance 2 was, I think, better than 1, even though the roster in 1 was better.
I totally get why they're going to continue making Batman games.
Yeah.
Because he worked so well. He worked so well in every medium. You know what I mean? Like television shows. Television shows, movies, comics, books.
Yeah.
Literally everything this man has been adapted into.
Legos, everything.
I think for both of us, the definitive version of this character, though, the definitive take, is Batman the Animated Series.
Bruce Timm, I think, wrote it so perfectly.
Yeah.
To the point where I like other interpretations. Like, I really give a lot of credit to Young Justice, to DC AMU.
Yeah.
I
Even
mean,
the live action.
There's
they all
even
have
some
their
live
merit,
actions,
yeah.
100%. But the way he wrote that entire universe, Superman, Batman, like, you would think it's a kid's show from an adult who isn't informed. You look at it, but you look and you watch these programs that were created for the DCAU.
They hold up so well now.
They hold up so well. The storytelling, the emotion, it's stuff you will never see in a movie. You really lack a lot of it. It's because also a movie's gonna be 2 hours long versus.
Well, I would say Batman the Animated Series is one of my big kind of points in saying that I think the medium of animation is better. It's better to do comic book characters in animation. It just works more. It kind of streamlines the goofiness of it all. You know what I mean? Like, these are people in tights fighting bad guys and stuff. I think it is much better translated into animation. We're seeing it with Spider-Verse nowadays too.
Yeah.
It works even better than live action, I think. But I will say, I love all the live action Batmans for different reasons. But I do think Kevin Conroy's Batman
is the best Batman.
He's in a lot, but I mean his Batman in the animated series universe is a definitive take on the character.
100%.
Even more so than the comics. I think they found such a good balance of everything, of just his mission, why he's doing what he's doing, the voice, just the characterization of him. Everything is it's so perfect that I don't think we'll ever reach that peak again, and I'm not even mad about it.
I don't disagree. I think it's nice that we haven't reached that because I can go back and appreciate this every single time. The one thing I do like is the lore that was built from this show. A lot of people don't realize, like, there is now Jason Todd has been introduced into this series. Like, we see Tim Drake in, Return of the Joker and his backstory. Like, he has all these other characters you might not have seen in the show also. That are in the comics. I mean, Batman Who Laughs now has like an exclusive figure, and he's getting
from the
show, and he's not even.
It just goes to
he's
show
Scott,
how influential.
He's a Scott Snyder character too, and he's now getting thrown into it, which just shows that this is still going to always hold up and going to have its modifications. Also, I really want to talk about how influential Harley Quinn has been.
Yeah,
her first appearance was in the show, and look at her.
The show has genuinely created so much stuff from Batman lore that people just don't even think about. Yeah. One, Harley Quinn, one of the biggest characters in DC now.
Yeah.
Came from this show.
100%.
Completely just
wasn't
a new
comic character. And the other thing that it makes me appreciate more is how they did this show. I can definitely see in Spawn, the animated series, another phenomenal show, that there was definitely some inspiration. I mean, Todd McFarlane's a genius on his own.
Spawn, the animated series, was very ahead of its
time.
Oh,
it was.
Everyone is on top of Invincible nowadays. It's a great. People are watching adult animation shows. That was maybe the first adult superhero animated show to ever come out.
100%.
On HBO.
After that was what? Hellboy?
There was a Hellboy series. There's been a couple.
There's shows that have been more mature than in.
But I genuinely think Spawn actually deserves recognition because it was a great show. It got canceled way too soon.
It really did. Todd McFarlane really outdid himself.
Another perfect casting too. Keith David as Spawn. Wow.
I can't unhear his voice. I mean, he came back from Mortal Kombat and he was phenomenal as a voice actor.
Exactly.
It was so nice to see him come back. I mean, he's had crossovers, obviously, to Image Comics, but I would like to see Spawn and Batman in a animated project together like they did, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Batman. Like, it was kind of goofy, but at some point though, Spawn and Batman in an animated film would be awesome. Would be amazing. And I would love to see. I mean, it's sad. Rest in peace, Kevin Conroy. It's got to be Jason O'Mara, I think.
It would have been nice to have Kevin Conroy keep David animated series.
It's gonna be Jason O'Mara, I think. If they were to ever do that, I think that's who should be casted as him. It's so hard to outright and outdo Kevin Conroy because he is that character. Yeah, as much as he's did other stuff, I can't outsee him as Batman. I have a Kevin Conroy Batman autograph for a reason.
To this day, I think he's the best interpretation of the character, and he's only done his voice. That definitely speaks volumes because there's been great Batman. Like, I love Christian Bale as the character. I like Robert Pattinson. I think Michael Keaton did a great job in the 80s and 90s, maybe not in the Flash, but I think there's always been something to take away from all these interpretations. But the only person I think got it on the nail, they nailed it, is Kevin Conroy. I
want to also say, now that we're talking about the series, I also think it had the best legacy character. So for people that don't know this, legacy character is somebody that just takes up hold the mantle. It's not a sidekick, so we're not going to be counting Robin or anything like that. We're going to talk about Terry McGinnis, your Wally West that becomes the Flash. I mean, Miles Morales takes the mantle of Spider-Man. I mean, Calderon becomes Aquaman. Stuff like that. They do start off as sidekicks.
I mean, you're shouting it out again. I mean, Terry McGinnis was created for this universe.
And I want to talk about the old Bruce that we do see, like from the continuation universe. Awesome. I think is just amazing just to see how, you see the struggle of him being old. Every one of those
spin-offs were actually great.
Static Shock.
We're saying insane. Static Shock, Justice League
Unlimited, I'm going to say.
Superman, the animated series.
I like Justice League Unlimited more than any other shows, but I think the best show is going to be Batman the animated series. Yeah, and I love Batman Beyond. Return of the Joker, I thought was just
I think it's for a number of reasons. A couple of reasons I really think Batman the Animated Series still holds up so well is kind of the way they produced it. One, like them drawing it on black matte paper, giving it that like film noir kind of feel. It's so cool. It's even in that universe it stands out because it's just it's like a noir cartoon that was made for kids. That's why it's so. I think it lives up so well because adults really can go back and watch it, and you learn new things. Yeah. You can take new things away from it.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, well, one thing the show was really, really known for was its villains. Yeah. It had some of the best, some original, some old,
questionable,
some rewritten for the animated series that they did an even better job for than the comics had previously.
No,
it's nuts.
Before we get into talking about the villains, I want to talk about the villains' redesigns.
Yeah.
Is there any you love, any you hated? I really want to say this. A lot of people hate on the Bane redesign with the spikes.
Yeah.
Like, I understand it looks a little.
The jump from animated series to New Adventures.
Like, I understand people said it looks a little too BDSM, whatever. Like, some people said it looked weird.
Well,
I think it's a great design.
Don't know, when they did a jump from Batman the Animated Series to its kind of sequel continuation, the New Adventures, they did lessen the quality on the animation a little to make room for some budget. That being said, a lot of the designs were completely changed to account for this. Yeah. Batman himself, he is far less detailed in the New Adventures than he was in the animated series.
And a new color scheme.
New color scheme, everything.
I personally like that color scheme, though. I really do.
I'm not even saying it's worse. It's just less detailed.
I know. Just some people. No, some people complain about it. Yeah. I mean, there's some to complain about. I like Scarecrow. I think it works for some more in some than others. Scarecrow, I loved.
That's one you like.
Way more menacing.
But I will say the Joker, not great.
Not great. Yeah.
And that's a big one.
I agree with you. That was big downhill. I mean, he had a lot of features that mattered. Red lips, all that, all taken away.
All taken away. It's just a guy, pale face, black hair, black eyes.
But Mark Hamill, once again, the GOAT of the Joker, the best Joker. Like, no disrespect.
I actually think Mark Hamill might be the best Joker, too. He's up there with Heath Ledger, of course.
A lot of people, when you hear the voice of Joker in different, theme parks, other places, you hear Mark Hamill's. I love Heath Ledger. I think it's the best we'll get because he is also just a normal guy with makeup, a psychotic.
Do you remember the days when you would just talk to people and be like, yeah, Mark Hamill plays a Joker, and they'd be like, what?
They'd be like, yeah, Luke Skywalker?
Like that's not even a shock anymore because everyone just knows this, but, like, I remember the time when it was, like, still, like, crazy to think that Mark Mark Hamill was voicing the Joker.
And people still consider him now, not even just for that role, but he's one of the best voice actors of all time.
He's
you look at his
amazing voice
resume; he's
actor.
voiced over 400 characters.
Any
Some of the
regular
most
show
iconic-
fans out there?
Skips,
Dude is actually in so many beloved
Fire Lord
shows.
Ozai. I mean,
Fire Lord Ozai.
I mean, I could just keep going with
Yeah.
him, but the show gave us so many great moments
Great
that were
moments
definitive to Batman.
and great villains, which is, I kind of want to rank them real quick. Do you have a top three? Let's do a top three.
Top 3.
Okay, starting from 3, I guess.
3.
Who are your top 3 villains.
I'm gonna put Harley Quinn. She came from the show.
You gotta give her the
I
credit.
mean, look
You
how
gotta
popular
give
she
it.
is. Like, I don't even need to talk about the other forms of culture she's in. You know, you could talk about how she's
Well, I
in
do want to
toy
ask you this. You
merchandise.
say Harley Quinn. Do you like how she's changed over the years, or do you think her just take in the animated series was?
Her take in the
perfect?
animated series, I think, was perfect, and she showed up even in Static Shock and other
I will literally
projects.
name a specific episode where I think Harley became a beloved character. That's Harley. It was Harley and Ivy's Day Off or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah,
When
I know
the
exactly.
episode that just features Harley and Ivy for the first time.
Mhm.
That's when people started really understanding she can be away from the Joker and
Mhm.
be her own kind of character. You know what I mean?
Made herself her own villain. She also did show up like in I think it
She's
was
also a
Static
far more
Shock, right?
sympathetic villain too. That's
Yeah.
what this show does very well.
Yeah.
Sympathetic.
You feel
villains.
bad for how Joker treats her in, and she makes
Yeah.
her appearance in Batman Beyond too.
And I
you
think
know,
the
all the way
most
at the end.
most serious episode of the entire series, or it is in the New Adventures, but Mad Love
Yeah,
is actually a really dark episode, and it perfectly encapsulates what the relationship between the Joker and Harley Quinn really is
it's
about.
very abusive. It's kind of sad when you realize that she
It
gave
is.
up her entire life for him.
Yeah.
But that also is what makes her. I've seen this. I'm not saying me, but I've seen a lot of people say like, yeah, I find Harley relatable in some ways, which is also why I think she's very popular.
Yeah.
It's a lot of villains are relatable. Like some guys relate to certain takes on the Joker than others. For obvious
I love
reasons.
that
Same
she's a
thing.
fun character. She's a relatable character. I don't really like that they're kind of turning her into DC's Deadpool. In
Yeah.
a way.
No, I agree with you.
I don't think she should be that. She
Yeah.
should still be a fun character. She doesn't need to be that wacky.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
she can run her mouth, do what she's got to do, but I agree with you. She's becoming very similar to Deadpool. And to be honest with you, like DC's version of Deadpool was Lobo, who came out before Deadpool.
Yeah.
And Stan Lee's favorite DC character, shout out Jason Momoa, is now cast as him, but I still will
That'd be
say
awesome.
the
It's gonna be
best
awesome.
interpretation of Lobo was in Superman the Animated Series.
Yeah.
Best voice ever.
Yeah.
like,
and,
bet
when
the
he showed
most
up in
perfect-
Justice League, pretty awesome.
Now that we can see Momoa play him, I think I'm excited for that. But a lot of the greatest things did come from this, show. What would your 3 be?
Well, I want to hear. Do you want to go
I
with
just,
yours?
I
Which
just,
one? Okay,
well,
so I'll go
Harley
with
would be my 3.
So my third would probably be. I'm gonna go with Two-Face.
Okay.
So Two-Face is, I think, one of the characters that definitely was. It's a good adaptation from the comic, but I think they built off of it so much
Yeah.
more in a way that they made him. He's the one villain in the show that is Bruce Wayne's friend before he
Yeah.
becomes a villain, and they make that a thing.
Especially in the
Harvey is-
hospital.
Harvey is in a lot of episodes before he becomes Two-Face. You actually get to know the character, and that's why I think his fall to villain is so powerful in the show. It's one of the best episodes. It's a 2-parter. The first Two-Face, part 1, part 2, some of the best animated episodes of all time.
It's so good.
Crazy good.
Bruce Timm actually, he just really had that himself. He really did.
No, and I think again, Two-Face is one of the villains from the show that they expanded upon in a really, really good way. And I guess I'll just move on to number 2 because that's fresh in my mind because it's also just in the same vein. Mr. Freeze.
Yep, that's mine too.
That's your number 2.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
my
let's
number
talk
2.
about it. So perfect. I think we have the same number 1.
Yeah, we do.
So-
it's so obvious.
All right, so let's just talk about it. So number 2, Mr. Freeze. I think at this point most people know that before the animated series,
He was very goofy.
he's a very wacky, not really much going on character. He's a very C-lister kind of character too. Batman fought him, that's whatever. He goes away. What the animated series writers did was they were like, no, we could find a new angle for this character. He can be a tragic type character. And it is not a shock that the first Emmy that the show ever won is from Heart of Ice, which I think is maybe the best episode in the series, in my opinion. I don't know what your opinion is, but it's up there.
Batman Sub-Zero also shows you a lot of depth.
Yeah,
on
the
that
movie,
character. Movie. I just think their take on him revolutionized the character in ways I didn't think.
He has never been written in a different way than he's been. Like, his story is always the one from the animated series ever since it aired.
When
You know
did
what I mean?
Batman and Robin come out again? With
97.
Arnold?
They used that story like 4 years after they did it on the animated series.
Yeah,
That's
so-
just to show you right there. Right away, people took to this character because it was that good. It's seriously... And for a 22-minute episode of TV, maybe one of the best of all time, not just animated. I'm serious.
It's
when I
not.
say that.
It's not a bad take.
What
a lot
they
of people.
pack into that episode is it's amazing.
It's heavy.
It's heavy.
It's heavy.
And it's some of the best dialogue ever written for a children's animated series ever, probably ever.
I also think because it was in the 90s, you got away with a lot more.
It's
like
true.
you really could. And I think a lot of people when they're hearing us say like, oh, some of these animated shows could go in, top 10 episodes ever, top 15, top 20, whatever. Some people are gonna be like, there's no way. If you saw what they did in this show and compared it to like a kid show we grew up with directly from our timeline, you would be like, it's night and day. It's just so much more depth in these characters. Bruce Timm really planned this universe out, and it wasn't just with Batman, it was with everybody. And that's why I think the animated route, like you said earlier, is going to do so much better than live action because you're able to do so much more. You can also make things a lot more dramatic with emotions, and you can, you can't replicate some things like into live action. You can.
You just can't. I mean, especially because I think the goofiness level adds a lot to that, and it just works in animation.
Hot take. The way I could see this being like recreated in live action would actually be in Pattinson's, just because of how dark and gloomy that universe has shown us already.
In the film noir
in
aspect,
the film, like the noir aspect,
no
like
doubt.
I could see a lot of Victor Fries pondering.
Well, the only
about
live
Noir.
action Batman, and I really mean Batman when I say this because Pattinson's Bruce Wayne didn't really do it for me, is when he was the Batman, I did actually find myself thinking back to the animated series a little. And those vibes, that noir vibe, I did actually think about a little bit.
The one thing I want to say about his Batman versus Batfleck, because there's a big Snyder cult behind it. I respect Snyder a lot, but I'm going to say this: Batman doesn't kill, and Pattinson not killing is such a big thing with me. And also, he's very young Bruce Wayne. Like, yes, he's old in real life, but he's supposed to be this character that we do see in Mask of Phantasm, where he has this obsession of becoming Batman, which is why I do like that we didn't fully explore the Playboy aspect of him with Pattinson. We explored the obsessed with the mission, got to get this and this and that. Because especially when he has a sidekick, he does start to open up more in the animated series.
I'm hoping that's the case here, where it's
really
like
do. I don't want to rush
into becoming both the Bruce Wayne figure, which is kind of like a character he plays, and Batman.
Who
He's
he
just
really
very focused on being Batman in his life right now, which is, I kind of get it. That was the approach for the movie. Well, let's move on to number one of animated series real quick.
3, 2, 1, the Joker.
So it goes without saying, Mark Hamill's Joker is just he's so good as the character, and it just shocks me that he wasn't even the first person casted for the animated series. Tim Curry was casted early on and recorded 3 episodes dialogue. And I guess they just didn't think it was working.
I like Tim Curry too as a voice actor. I mean,
I love Tim Curry.
Nigel Thornberry.
It would be funny if Pennywise was Joker.
Yeah.
But Mark Hamill is perfect as a character.
No, it is. He is the Joker. I mean, him and Heath both have set, this scale, I think, pretty well. Like, live action's got to be like Ledger, but if somebody can bring the Hamill aspect into live action somehow, some way, James Gunn.
I said goofiness before. Oh yeah, continue. Sorry.
Cough, cough. James Gunn. Yeah. I mean, I think then we would probably have one of the best Jokers possibly coming up. But it's just...
Well, I hope.
I hope too. But Mark Hamill is very hard to replicate. Like, he really is.
But when I said, like, goofiness before, his Joker, even when he's being super serious, scary, can be goofy.
No, he can be.
Which is why I like that. I think another perfect example of
the IRS scene?
That in the New Adventures, but also in Mask of the Phantasm.
Yeah.
The movie.
Yeah.
He is a cartoon character in that movie. He works he kind of moves around like Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
But he is scary as shit. I love that. I love that combination for the character. He should always be a character he could turn on a dime,
The one thing I thought was awesome when he did show up in Static Shock and you saw how serious, like the look on Virgil's face and
he's taken seriously in that
because in that universe, you don't mess around with him because the thing is with Joker, and they always wrote this way, Joker may not be the most skilled person, but it's almost like how Taskmaster describes Deadpool. The Joker's unpredictable. Yeah. You don't know what he's going to do. You really don't. And his IQ in the comic world, when they talk about the top IQs of comic universes, he always ends up in top 10 discussion because he is very smart. He's outsmarted Batman, who's debatably one of the smartest people. Him and Mr. Terrific have been outsmarted by the Joker. And you could definitely see it in this. He does in Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other way to put it that Mark Hamill's Joker is the definitive Joker, too. And especially in Arkham.
Voice-wise, character-wise, dude can literally come up against the Justice League. So it's like...
Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure Mark Hamill ruptured some of his vocals
Yeah,
playing the Joker.
He generally like affected his voice so much because he played him so many times.
But to him, you know what's crazy to me? As much as he's Luke Skywalker, I see the Joker more just because I also think the length of media that he's been in with the Joker. But totally. I can't unsee it.
He has left a big stamp as both characters for sure, and at this point, I think his legacy as the Joker is not nearly as tainted as his legacy as Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, it hasn't. And you know what I respect a lot out of Mark Hamill is when they want to do, I think was it Infinite Crisis? Or Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Oh, Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Where he originally didn't want to do it because Kevin was passed away. Yeah. Or if it was, it was Cape Crusader. Excuse me.
Oh, yes.
I don't remember what it was, but he was asked to return for a project, and I saw that since Kevin wasn't alive, he didn't want to do that. And he declined it. And I respect that because at the end of the day, those two are... They are the dynamic duo. As much as it's Batman and Robin,
I don't
Batman
know if this
Joker.
is the right statistic, but I think in about 95% of the projects where Kevin Conroy voiced Batman, Mark Hamill voiced the Joker. Not every time, because not every time the Joker was there.
I did see.
But if there was a Joker, it was Mark Hamill.
I did see actually an interview, and Mark Hamill was talking about how Warner Bros. Reached out, and he was like, "Is Kevin doing it?"
Yeah,
and
that was his first question every time.
And it's sad to see Kevin Conroy go because that's another legacy that I don't think will ever be. It can't be tainted, that legacy, for sure. It can't. It's
all right. Well, I know we finished the top three, but I do want to throw in there. Let's pick one more pick. Let's go. I want us to go a wild card pick. Kind of meaning the show has, I guess what I mean by wild card is the show has a lot of one episode players, couple episode players, new players that aren't really the main villains. Yeah. But there's so many great ones that I kind of want to. I can mention 20. You know,
yeah, there's a lot.
Right off the bat, do you have one in mind or?
Klarion or Firefly?
Okay, Firefly, amazing choice. Klarion, great choice.
Klarion, I think I appreciated him more.
Please explain who Klarion is for the casuals.
I want to get the right description so I do not forget out any details because there's characters like this, especially like Etrigan, because a lot of people didn't know Etrigan obviously more until you go to Justice League Unlimited.
Well, Klarion is really featured heavily in New Adventures.
Yes,
I think he really is.
He's got one episode. He has one episode.
Yeah,
but
so he's one episode.
For those that have seen Young Justice, Klarion is the kid with the cat that does sorcery. He knows Merlin. He's in a lot of those Dr. Fate magical episodes.
Yeah.
But this is the best way to describe him, so I don't forget anything. But he's a supervillain. He appeared in 1973, so he's it's one of those new characters that they brought out.
Yeah.
But yeah, extra dimensional warlock, like I said.
He's literally
he's a magic user.
I do like when Batman comes up across beings that he just can't really fight with his fist, or just he has to work a way around.
He has no business with certain villains, but it's the same thing. I appreciated Klarion a lot more when I went to go watch Young Justice as a kid, and I was like, this is cool that I got to see Etrigan and Batman team up, and Jason Blood, the alias of Etrigan, get to team up against Klarion. Cool character. I'm happy he got expanded more. There's a lot of these characters, especially in Batman the Brave and the Bold, for example, that I want to see get done. I want to see Dr. Destiny from Justice League end up in a James Gunn project. I don't know if you remember that, but when Kevin Conroy's falling asleep, his Batman, he has to drink coffee, he goes in your dreams and puts you in a state. Like a lot of those characters that Batman obviously has no business fighting,
he does fight anyway.
But we forget though, the Batman is the description of a natural super soldier. He didn't use Captain America, no disgrace to Cap, but Cap needed enhancements to get the way he is. Deathstroke has a health regen. A lot of people forget that. Batman is just peak human and discipline. And that's also why I think a lot of people do glaze the character. I do at times, but I'm more realistic with it.
Well, that's why so many people relate to him right off the bat. He's a human.
He's a human. He's a human that's he's not afraid of death. He's not afraid of any alien. He's fought Lobo.
His superpower is his resilience.
Yes.
He will never give up.
I think his IQ also.
Yes, of course.
That's his his thing. Yeah. A lot of people are like, oh, he has money, but look at the end of the day,
Definitely
he's
helps.
Just it helps, but he's just a disciplined human.
All right, before we finish up, I will pick a wild card character too. I'm gonna go with one that I think she's in a couple episodes. She's not just in one episode, but she is definitely a more minor villain. One created for the show.
I know who
Baby Doll.
Yep, I knew you were
going
this route.
Especially her first episode is one of my favorites in the whole series.
Yeah.
In that whole universe. Again, the show's ability to make new characters and actually just make them work for that world.
Economy King.
Well, Economy King was not new, but I guess
they
kind of made
No,
him
but
work.
just the way they used him, he worked.
I was saying before, so many characters that were... I also like just painting a sympathetic light on villains. I think that's a great trait of Batman that we've been missing a lot in his media. Because you look at Robert Pattinson, did he really have sympathy for his villains? No, not at all. He was pretty angry the whole movie. I much prefer a take on Batman where he sympathizes with
And
his villains.
he's
He wants
conflicted.
to help them. He's conflicted. He can get angry, especially at the Joker who murders people.
Yeah.
But someone like Baby Doll, her affliction is why she's in turmoil. She wants to be treated like an adult. You could sympathize with
I
that
kind of
right off
regret
the
not
bat.
talking about Clayface. I kind of regret not talking about Clayface.
Clayface is also a good
It's
one.
another great shout out. But the thing I want to say about Batman being conflicted, that what Bruce Timm did so well is he did the same exact thing with showing sympathy with the Flash and Mark Hamill playing the trickster. Ironically, he played the live action trickster too, but meets him in a bar. He's like, "You've not been taking your meds," and he starts playing darts with the trickster, and the trickster turns
But
into
wouldn't you
like.
agree? I think we've been missing that with our Batman. Like, he's not... Like, the last two interpretations, Affleck and Pattinson, live action, do they care about their
I'm about
villains?
to upset Snyder fans. Listen, you can have your own take on Batman. Stop saying that's the definitive Batman. Yes, great design. Batman does not kill people and act the way he did.
We have yet to have a perfect live action.
We
We'll
haven't.
never have a
And it's the
perfect
same thing.
live
It's the
action
same thing with
adaptation.
Superman too. Love Henry Cavill, fits the character perfectly. Love Man of Steel. Man of Steel. Those are not the definitive characters. Same thing with Momoa. Momoa's a cool take. He's not Aquaman.
Yeah.
This universe is the definitive universe. This is the definitive of what
It feels
we
close
wish.
to it.
We
It's what I
wish
wish it would
is.
be.
This is what I wish live action would be.
Yeah.
Martian Manhunter. The way everything's been done. There's no other way to put it. I mean, the way Batman's conflicted throughout each series. I mean, look at him with.
He
Ace.
also appears in
How
every
about-
series, which is just
He does.
awesome.
How about Ace and him holding hands at the end? I think it was Ace before
Yeah.
she passes away on the swing set.
There's so many peak Batman moments in all of the shows because it's Kevin Conroy's
Waller was great. Him and Waller's chemistry.
Love
perfect
that
throughout the
relationship.
Perfect.
There's so much to love from Batman the Animated Series. There's so much to love from Batman in general.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Either way, we'll see you guys next time.